Hello and welcome back to 5 Minutes with the Family. As always, I'm Fukui Drew with another short Japanese exclusive Super Famicom game review because, well, I really need those 120 views. This week we're looking at Dokapon 321, or is it Dokapon? The second game in the Dokapon series, developed and released by Asmic Ace. With over 8 games spanning 4 decades, this series has carved out a niche fanbase so dedicated they probably argue over which Dokapon game ruins friendships the fastest. Now I know there must be some diehard fans out there thinking, why are you reviewing the sequel before the original? And to that I say, I had no idea this was a sequel until about 10 minutes ago, so there. Besides, I'm not the only one struggling with numbers here. Just look at Dokapon naming conventions. I mean, the first game in the series is called Kessen Dokapon Okoku 4. 4? Why? I mean, sure, because there are 4 players and they can play at one time. I mean, I get it, but come on, that's just unnecessarily confusing. Like way too many games on the Super Famicom, Dokapon 321 is yet another board game. I believe there must have been a board game template passed around the different studios back in the mid-1990s because the sheer number of these things is overwhelming. Maybe they were easier to program back then, honestly I don't know. But here's the twist, this one actually stands out. Instead of being just another life simulator, Dokapon 321 mixes in RPG mechanics. Your character levels up, buys weapons and gears, fights towering bosses, and even progresses through an actual story. I'll be honest, I went in expecting a confusing mess, but the mechanics actually work. You won't spend hours wandering around wondering what to do, which is more than I can say for some real RPGs. I started off playing in normal mode, which ditches the story and lets you focus on the core RPG and board game mechanics, perfect for getting a feel for how the game plays without worrying about, well, whatever the heck this is. At first, everything seems solid. The character art has noticeably improved over the first game thanks to the designs of Ami Shibata, a designer who has worked on such characters as Papua. The music is better here as well, and really isn't that annoying. Yet. The board game itself is made up of several different types of spaces. Land on an empty space, you'll trigger a fight with a low-level enemy. Boss space, well, take a guess. Town spaces let you buy items and weapons, trade stock, invest in cities you own, or heal up after a rough fight. And treasure chests, well, they'll give you random items. While items can be useful, I usually skip them in favor of battles. Every battle turn consists of an attack phase and a defense phase, with the order randomly decided. Attacks include everything from super attacks, magic attacks, and standard attacks, while defensive moves range from blocking to countering, and of course my personal favorite, running away like a true tactical genius. Knowing when to use these actions is the key to success. If a fight doesn't end in one turn, it drags into the next, sometimes leading to hilarious or painful situations. Case in point, in one game I watched a weak opponent battle a mermaid. He wasn't strong enough to kill it, but he wasn't weak enough to die either. What followed was a 7-turn saga of mediocrity, an epic clash where neither side could finish the job. It was like watching an action movie where 2 people shoot at each other from behind barrels for like 30 minutes. Boss battles, not quite as epic as you might hope. They follow the same general flow as normal fights, except with slightly higher stakes. Defeating a lesser boss lets you take over the city they were guarding, while the main boss simply respawns somewhere else on the map. And since money determines the winner, the game quickly turns into a contest of who can slay the main boss the most. The biggest challenge isn't necessarily the fight itself, it's leveling up fast enough to stand a chance, and also landing on the exact space the boss is guarding. Some items let you manipulate your dice rolls, but good luck getting to a shop to buy them in the first place. One game I got caught in an endless boss relay with another player. It was actually quite amusing. I'd kill the main boss and it would immediately spawn on his space, triggering an automatic battle. Then he'd kill it and surprise it popped back up on my space. This back and forth went on for way too long, like some sort of cursed game of hot potato, but where the potato can fight back. One thing is for certain, you will die in this game. Maybe it'll be from a cheap shot from a weak opponent, or maybe you'll accidentally wander into a boss fight only to realize too late that it's 10 levels higher than you. Either way it's going to happen, but don't worry, death really isn't the end. Instead you get sent back to the main castle, minus a few of your hard-earned items of course, and then you just wait. I have no idea if the resurrection timer is tied to your speed stat, but man, it really felt random. Sometimes I was revived in a couple of turns, other times I was left in ghost purgatory for what seemed like an eternity. Once I had to wait, 6 turns I think, while my still living opponents ran around the map having the time of their lives. They even got into this really cool battle with what looked like an 80s anime gang. Meanwhile, I just sat there, staring at my controller and questioning my life choices. Here's something important to keep in mind when setting up a new game. It asks you how many turns you want to play for. Innocent enough, right? Thinking back to Mario Party, I figured 20 sounded like a nice, well-rounded session. Turns out I was very wrong. In Dokapon 3-2-1, that number represents weeks, with each week containing 7 turns. Without realizing it, I had just committed myself to 140 turns of this game. At roughly 2 to 3 minutes per turn, I had unknowingly signed up for 5 hours of playtime. I didn't even process the mistake until I was about 2 hours in, by which point I was way too invested to quit. But as bad as this is, it's nothing compared to the absolute madness of the maximum setting. 9,999 weeks. That's not a mistake. If my math is right, that's about 100 straight days of gameplay, literal weeks of your life gone. Though impossible gaming challenges are kind of tempting. Anyone up for the longest game of Dokapon ever? Now let's just get to the real meat of this game, the reason it's considered a classic by so many and a must-have for any serious Super Famicom collector. No, it's not the RPG mechanics, the strategy, or even the quirky charm. It's the sheer joy of ruthlessly betraying your friends. Landing on the same space as another player immediately triggers a battle. Most of the time these fights are avoided. After all, grinding for gold and experience elsewhere is usually the smarter move. But the chance to murder a friend, steal their hard-earned items and gold, and force them to sit out a few turns, way too tempting to pass up. This is why Dokapon 3-2-1 has earned the infamous title of Friendship Killer. The first player to level up gains massive advantage over the others, and once they realize it, something changes. They stop being just another player and become the game's true final boss, mercilessly crushing everyone in their path. Even the nicest, most soft-spoken friend will turn into a power-hungry tyrant, and before you know it, your fun game night has turned into a psychological warfare simulator. A few quick observations before I wrap up. If you're playing against the CPU, do yourself a favor and set the difficulty to easy. Higher difficulty levels don't necessarily make the AI smarter, they just crank up their stats. Nothing like starting a game only to realize your opponents are like 30 points stronger than you right out of the gate. Also, this building looks weirdly familiar to me. I mean, it either looks like IG-11 from Star Wars or a really sad Iron Giant. I can't really tell, but I feel it needs a hug. Story mode has some fun moments, but man, dying makes this game so boring. Anyway, I enjoy the game, but probably not enough to justify the 5,000 price tag. It is a little bit more expensive than other games these days. The mechanics start off fun, but the poor balancing makes the gameplay stale pretty quickly. Overall, I give Dokapon 3-2-1 a 64 out of 100. It might be better than the original, but honestly, I wouldn't know. If you got the patience, like 9,999 weeks worth of patience, maybe you can find a follow-up review later. But in the meantime, don't forget to like and subscribe. And remember, in games, as in life, be a hero, select your goals, and start your adventure. Take care.